To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live 2.0. I'm your host, Shawn Whittington. I'm a seminarian in the United States Old Catholic Church, and I'm coming to you live from my haunted house, my very haunted house, where I live. Got a great show today, and you all know that. That's why you all tuned in. So we're going to get right to it because she's waiting in the green room. Um, Anything you want to know about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there to visit, there's a lot of cool things there to see. Remember, my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So trust me, brothers and sisters, I know times are tough. Trust me. But if you can, afford to send my ministry in a small donation, click on the little donate button and do so. We'd be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. So everything you need to know is there. While you're there, buy a book or enroll in my class or make an appointment to speak with me about spiritual issues if you're having some. It's your one stop, everything thereof place for all the stuff. And anything you buy off of the website, part of the proceeds go to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. So how cool is that? You get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. Most importantly, before I bring my guest out, I just want to say a quick thing there. Everybody I know, myself included, it's just a weird time right now in our lives, and everybody seems to be struggling with one thing or another. And I'm just inundated with people out there sending me prayer requests and wanting me to pray for them and help them, give them some advice on issues they're having. Everybody's struggling. So I just want everybody to take a moment and just concentrate on just bringing nothing but God's love and light down and just surround us with the brightest light you could ever imagine in your wildest dreams from God, engulfing all of us, everybody within the sound of my voice, engulfing all of us and the world. And we're going to get through this. Everybody's got their struggles, but we're going to get through this. Okay. This is First Friday. So you know what that is. This is going to be another installment of Christian Supernatural with my very special co-host, the one and only EIRA WULFNOTHSSON, Demonologist. So here she is.
Hey,
How you
yeah,
doing?
I'm doing well. So, I thought I would share just the little something that I shared with you and Zach backstage. So, you were saying everyone's really struggling, everyone's really under diabolic attack. I mean, life happens, but sometimes some of us get a little more than others. And Catholics are very unique. When we are brought under the yoke of suffering, we are taught to take that suffering and go to the foot of the cross and offer our suffering up to Christ to transform into grace to be used for the souls of others who need it the most. So, in that makes the demons say, I'm going to go rob the next house because this guy's suffering is actually doing a good thing after all. So, a bit of your suffering may disappear. Be vigilant about it. Um, Spiritual warfare is cumulative in its efficaciousness or power. You want to keep, as Father Ripperger likes to say, carpet bombing the demons. Just keep saying it. I'm sending this to you, Christ, to transform into grace my suffering for the good use of, however you will it, or for the souls of others who need it the most. And so the demons look at that and they go, oh man, that defeats the purpose. And, as Christians, we believe in the supernatural or the unseen, invisible realities. So, of course, we believe that demons are actual conscious beings that are out there doing what they do. So I thought I would just share that with everybody, because everybody seems to be under extraordinary heaviness right now.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to just throw this out there to all the wealthy people out there that might be listening to my show that want a
So-
good cause. I mean, Zach's got a surgery coming up on the 16th, I believe it is, and we're hoping he can get the surgery done. But believe me, I know how the medical field works. They always want your deductible and your down payment or payment up front and stuff. It's brutal. And nowadays, what you used to get help, what medical insurance used to help you with, is nothing compared to what it just it's almost non-existent now. And and my wife's still got her ongoing struggle with the after effects of her years of battling cancer, and it's just one thing after another after another. But I think Zach's got a little GoFundMe page going. I mean, it's crunch time here. His surgery's on a week from this Monday, and he's trying to come up with the funds to pay for his surgery. So, um, uh, for what it's
and
worth, I'm just throwing it out there, and that's it.
yeah, well, there's an interesting
Thank
twist
you, Sean.
to what you're both requesting. People don't realize this, but as Christians, we're taught tithe 10%. Well, that 10% doesn't have to go to your church. It That 10% can also go to those who need it, a person on the street. It can go to Sean or Zach. Um, you know, 1/3 of my income goes to a family member in need. So I, don't have anything left to take into my parish church. I try to do a little here and there, but there are, God puts it on our heart where we need to tithe if we pay attention. Tithing is simply the law of reciprocity. You know, we're wired when someone gives something to us, we're wired to try and give something back, and that's God. That's how God is. We try, he gives it back 20 times more. So, is a lot of people think it's ridiculous, but it is a spiritual law written into the universe. The occultists use it all the time, but for the wrong reasons.
Another thing Catholics do, maybe not all Catholics. I've always done this all my life. I just know, however bad things may seem, they can always get worse. And I know just to stay strong, stay focused, plow through, and God always finds a way to bring me through. So it is what it is. It just somehow
Yeah.
it happens, and so that's what's going on. But
Yeah, and it's difficult to do things for the world if you're in the world. I think with spiritual warfare or anything that we're doing, we have to try as much as possible to remain indifferent and detached in certain areas of our lives. We can't be caught up in the chaos and the programming and all the bombs that are going off around us in our lives. Even though that's counterintuitive and very difficult to do, we need to try very hard to do that so we remain coherent, both sides of our brains working together in logic and reason. When we're out of coherence, what we call incoherence, we're nuts. We can't remember things. We can't focus on things. We don't show up. We don't pay attention. I mean, that's part of evil's plan. So that's something to really take into consideration when you feel yourself getting caught up. Step back, go into the trees, and just observe. Pull back so you have this detached view of what's happening. And that's, exorcists will tell you the same thing. When they go into direct battle with evil, they are trying very hard to do that. Let go and let God and Christ. They're
it's
asking
tough.
Christ and Mary to do the work, of course. But if they get emotional and crazy, that just adds fuel to the fire. Evil feeds on that.
Absolutely. I'm like that. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I care way too much. If that
You
is
got to
even a
bury your heart
thing.
every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. And when someone needs help, I want them to have had that help yesterday. So I tend to just,
Mhm.
even if I'm buried at that moment in a bunch of other stuff that I'm trying to help, I'll push it all aside. I can't multitask very well, so I'm constantly praying for help with that,
For
but I will
grace,
push
yeah.
everything off to the side to go help that next thing. And it's
And
just, yeah,
and I believe that detachment and that indifference is a grace from God. We need to ask for it. God, give me the grace to stand back and stay clear through this and stay coherent because, it's happening to us. And our even our natural biological or body will respond to it, which we're battling that too, not just our logic and our intellect. It's difficult right now. I know a lot of people, they're getting fed a lot of fear porn and just remember I myself I probably spent my whole life worrying about things that never happened.
I know. I know. I know.
You know
I'm like that too. I you know,
and so
you always hear people say, "Listen, you can't." My bishop is says it all the time.
does he?
I need to listen to him more.
Of
Um,
course, yeah, of
he, you
course.
can't. Don't worry about the things you have no control over.
Mhm.
You let go, let God. Offer it up
That's
to God.
hard.
Um,
That's so
but
counterintuitive and difficult.
And then you were talking about your animals, and I just my last mastiff I just sent to heaven,
I
and so
know.
we're done now. But so I wasn't. I'm like, how can I change the subject, but allow her to say what she needs to say? Because you were
Yeah.
telling me things you're doing with you've got these senior
Mhm.
citizen for fur babies now that you're
Yeah.
taking care of, and I went through all of that too, and that's I know you're gonna I know I you're done. I'm gonna pray for you so hard when something happens because I that's how you and I met. I
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
even know how we got on a conversation about your dog tearing his cruciate, and you were gonna come to Vegas, and I recommend a good surgeon,
I
and
was
I
on K
did.
You were on K-Core Radio and I was a guest,
Oh,
and
that's
my dog
okay.
barked, and I think the whole dog conversation ca I mean, we've been friends for a long time. That was quite a while ago, years ago,
And
but it was
I've come to
it's
I know how
K-Core.
you're like me. You might even be worse with your animals than I am. And so I really worry about what's gonna happen to you when they
I
have to
will
go to heaven.
process it. I will with God's grace. I've told a lot of my friends that are very close to me, that live close to me, when this happens, I will be going into the cave. Don't come in for me. I really need that solitude with Christ and Mary and the saints and the angels. I need to process it. I'll be having a conversation in that cave. If you go in for someone that's in the cave, it's like the bear in the cave. You don't come out very happy. It's you need to let people go into grief. I mean, grief is really just loving something that is no longer in the visible world for us to see. So I need to process that and also say I'll see you soon, and really process that I will see him soon or her soon, my dogs. So we just need to
And
go through
you'll
that
have
with
a
God.
yeah, you'll have a phase where they even come visit you. It's like something really Sharon says,
I know.
"Honey, what are you doing?" I'm all like, Why are you calling me? I'm busy.
Yeah.
I want you to come see something, and I promise you I didn't do it, but I want you to come see something." We found on the bed a dog bone. Neither one of us had put it there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like Sharon, she's the kind of person that can sleep through anything. It's like she's gets in the bed and she's lowering herself down and she's already out. And she would sleep, my mastiff would sleep right up against her back. And to get comfortable in the middle of the night, Sharon would roll over and then hug her.
Mhm.
And so Sharon's been doing
Mhm,
that at
too.
night in her sleep and hugging this something that I can't see, but I feel that there's something there. But we were blown away because her ashes came back and we put them on the bed, the part of the bed where she loves to sleep.
Mhm.
And we don't know. I mean, she's got there's some dog bones around still, but we've picked them all up and they're in spots and stuff. But how one got to the bed, um,
I don't know about the ghosts of animals, I think that it's very possible and our animals do visit us. I feel that. However, with human beings, I don't know about, our human beings. Are we able to necromance or that was a topic I was going to talk about today. Or are we
go for it. I know that you had mentioned. Um,
Possession. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
getting there.
how people get targeted. So I'll just shut
Yeah.
up and you go do your thing.
So
Do your
so
thing.
I don't know about, when we see our dead grandmother and it's nice grandma coming to visit us, what what the church teaches, and I'm talking about exorcist experience for 1800 years, 2000 years. They teach us that fallen angels and the diabolic demons, they will very frequently prey upon our weakness, which is grandma, our beloved pets, and they will start to get your interaction and tempt you to interact with them by presenting as grandma and as your beloved pets. So, what I say to do is, I believe it's possible that it could be your pets and it could be grandma. I don't know if we're reaching people in purgatory and that's what a ghost is, or are they 100%, as some exorcists say, demons and spirits that are impersonating them. I'm on the fence. But just to be safe, when that beautiful dog bone appeared on your bed or Sharon is feeling it, just very quickly say, God, if this is not from you, send it to the foot of the cross, never to return to trouble me again. If that doesn't disappear, okay, great, but do it every time. Do it every single time and then say, is that you? Beloved pet or grandma, I don't know. I feel like when my father died years ago, I wasn't able to be at his deathbed. No one told me. I was in another country. And I remember getting the news that he passed away over the phone, and I was alone. It was my birthday. I was completely isolated on a 600-acre ranch, like completely in the middle of nowhere. And an orb appeared in my bathroom. Not the kind like you think you see it and then it disappears. This orb traced all the edges of the rooms and followed me. It was, not a big orb. It was about like that. And it was a different kind of light, when it's something beautiful or divine or of goodness, it's a different kind of glow to it, a different kind of fluorescing to it. And I've never really seen an orb just hang there for like 10 minutes and follow me around ever. I can't ever remember having that happen. And I swam in the occult for decades. But, was it God allowing my father to say goodbye and say, it's all right that you weren't here? I love you. Goodbye. I find it very difficult to even imagine that that would have been an evil thing, trying to hook me. I was already an occultist, so why they don't need to hook me. I was on the team.
Yeah.
So, you know, but you always want to check yourself. When one of those beautiful, Lucifer translates to enlightenment, to illuminator, to light, phosphorus, his job was to enlighten us, but as we know, light can also blind. So he's very good at blinding us. And in Corinthians it says, you're going to be blinded by the lord of this world, which is Lucifer. So if you're something of the diabolic, you're going to be showing up as something very wonderful and very interesting, and they know what you want to connect to because they can watch us for decades,
Yeah.
lifetime. you know they have all the time in the world. So one of the topics I was going to talk about today is, why do some people get possessed and others don't? Yes, there are certain people that are under God's protection. And, we've all heard of that. But then there are people that really ask for it in conscious ways and unconscious ways. And so when Jesus became fully human and fully God, when he walked among us, 1/3 of his ministry was exorcism. That's a lot of time to be exorcising people. And he was, really, we were learning firsthand, and I say we because it's preserved through the Gospels. We were learning firsthand from God himself how to do spiritual warfare. And we were learning a lot about the diabolic and the fallen ones. So, when we look at Paul, who says, never ever do these things, and they're all things of the occult. Paul is a guy, one of the 11 apostles that Christ appeared to after the resurrection. Plus, Christ appeared to 500 people at one time. So there's a lot of witnesses to that. So here's Paul, who's witnessed exorcism after this, after that, and he's saying, don't do these things, which are, divination, sorcery, witchcraft, pharmakeia, alchemy, necromancy, all these things that we think are so great today. And a lot of things fall under those umbrellas, like Reiki and yoga and all these things, astrology, tarot. Don't do those things, he says. Why? Because, 1/3 of his life while Jesus was alive was spent, dealing with the diabolic. And I think that if Paul says don't do it, it means that it is possible to have great power over us. When people become possessed, they go through that process. It begins with temptation, and then it moves through oppression and obsession, where it's either an inner attack. Oppression is the inner attacking of us, in our heads. People hear voices and they can't think, and they're constantly being screamed at, or they have unnatural thoughts of suicide, hurting themselves. They want to do drugs, whatever. Obsession, on the other hand, is, exterior attacks, like your finances go, your car gets messed up, your animals go under infestation, which is a possession of your animals, right? Your animals can get possessed. A doll in your house can get possessed. Furniture can get possessed. Your whole house can get possessed. So that happens. But then there's also subjugation, where people who are not Christians will take their children, and this happens, babies, young children, and they will do a blood ritual on their children, finger prick, and they will consecrate them in exchange for some form of power or control. So the baby or the child, you're not consenting when that happens to you. You're under the authority structure of your parents. So your evil parent, or your evil grandma, or your evil person that you're under the authority of as a child does this. So that child is more vulnerable to possession because they've been consecrated to evil under the authority, as if they have consented themselves, but they haven't. So if you're messing around with the occult, velocity internet warrior, and you think it's innocent, at the level of occultism and study that I did for decades, I can tell you all those things do have a connection to the diabolic, because they are taking you away from they're taking you away not only from God's will, but God himself. They distance you from God, because then you become self-reliant. You are the God. And of course, that's Lucifer's whole plan, is to distance you from God where you don't need God. It's not even as serious as I don't believe in God, or I don't like God, or whatever. It distances you from it. But more importantly, what it does is you're dealing, like, for example, with yoga or necromancy. You're dealing with spirits, and then you're also dealing with the craft, where you're using symbols. Your body is the symbol in yoga. Um, in witchcraft, are you burning sage? Are you burning, all these things are invitations to invoke or evoke the spirit of those things. So yoga has particular gods and goddesses and spirits associated with it. The body positions are living symbols, which are used anytime you're invoking or evoking. You're using symbols, intention, visualization, toning, colors. It's a language. It's a very complex system, magic, but it's pretty much all based on universal principles. So when you're burning sage or burning these different things, sage is sort of funny because people think it's great, but sage is also bound with string. It can come with a spell or an enchantment on it, an unnatural attraction is imbued into it magically by a ceremonial magician or a witch person or a sorcerer. But all these things have symbolism in them that are in direct correlation with other gods and goddesses spirits. Now, other gods and goddesses spirits, they are all fallen angels by definition. The catch-all terms, people think these are different things, but anything that is anti-nature, anti-god, that is, you're dealing with fallen angel consciousnesses or demons, which are actually two different things. The demons are disembodied Nephilim spirits, evil, yes. So as you swim in the occult and you're interacting with the spirits that are called by the sage, or they're sacred to that particular stream of wisdom, or the yoga, or whatever form of magica you're into, you're starting to resonate with those beings. So you're starting to match their vibration. When you resonate with these kinds of beings, they say that we are the product of the closest 5 people to us. The closest 5 people to you at that point are going to be entities, non-corporeal entities. I once did a 4-year classical study in core shamanism. I have 2 decades of ceremonial magic in my resume. I think we've talked about it here before. My curriculum today is like ages long. But, you merge with spirits in shamanism. You also stack spirits in shamanism. There's the whole thing about testing the spirits, but nobody can really test the spirits. An imperator of one of the Rosicrucian orders I was in once said, even the highest magi or magus, they don't really know, exactly if they're testing the spirit correctly or not. Anything can happen. Even the best of us can make a mistake. So in shamanism, they tell you, well, just test the spirit, and they tell you to visualize in this very simplistic way of doing it. But you can stack up to 100 spirits within you. So you're opening yourself up to things that you have no idea what they are. Probably 75 to 95% of them are predatory entities, i.e., evil entities, that can be wonderful until they're not. Like I said, they can take a long time before they turn. You're really swimming in some pretty serious dark waters that you have no idea what you're doing. You're not supposed to be in that. So when we look at I know we all know some really nice people that are mediums or channelers or whatever. A medium is evoking something. So with necromancy, she's contacting and evoking a spirit of a deceased person and then translating what that person says with her own perceptions and her own senses. A channeler is invoking the entity. They're actually allowing the entity to merge with them, much like in shamanism, and then they allow their body to be utilized by that spirit to speak. So if we're talking about possession, in these cases, that's possession. It's temporary possession.
Yes.
Um,
I have a
with
quick question to ask, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
sure.
You throw out the word shamanism all the time, and I'm thinking of some of. I'm not 100% sure if it was Hinduism or Buddhism, and it might be both. But I've talked to some people of those religious belief systems that have practiced what they call deity yoga, where they invite the spirits in to take them over
Yeah,
to give
same thing.
them. And so I find that so crazy because I've seen
Yeah.
even their own families break apart from it. Um,
Yeah, well, evil is anti-structural. Know them by its fruits. It will tear your life apart. It is
have you
just
had this
part.
conversation with A Buddhist or a Hindu?
I can't say I have sat down directly with a Buddhist, but again, these are universal principles that are practiced in every global culture. They just call it different things. They have a different form of it. Catholics are probably, the Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Apostolic Church, their whole thing has been about spiritual warfare. They're very different than, let's say, Cavalry Church downtown or, the other, God bless them all. They're all on the same team. But Catholics really made a point to preserve the records of dealing with evil. They have the right of exorcism. Other places in times of great need will end up biting the bullet and going to a Catholic exorcist. So when I talk about the occult, I'm talking about Buddhism and Hinduism. That's part of it. To me, it's all the occult now, and again, my curriculum vitae was, the trivium, the quadrivium, geomancy, necromancy, theurgy, ceremonial magic, high magic, golden dawn magic, 4 years of core shamanism, um, hermetic philosophy, alchemistic philosophy. I was a member of the International Alchemy Guild. I mean, I got a good broad look at what is out there. Enochian magic. I mean, you name it. Invoking demons, evoking demons, merging with spirits, convoking things. That was my life. So when people ask me, it isn't astrology harmless? Isn't tarot harmless to you? No, it's harmful because you don't know. Number one, we see in the Bible with the Israelite priests, I think it was Aaron or Abraham. They had the Urim and Thummim stones. They would use these stones for divination, but they were holy stones from God, made to communicate with God. And so they had the black stone and the white stone, and they would keep it in their pouch underneath their lamen that had the 12 stones, tribes of Israel. And they would throw the stones, and God would communicate to them in that way. So as an occultist or, one of the other flavors of the month, they can say, well, look, they were doing it in the Bible. Yeah, but they were directed by God. So,
Is that the same thing as when they refer to casting lots?
yes. And, they also did other things. They were astrologers. They did
Yeah.
pay attention to astrology, but they weren't divining with it. That's the difference. They weren't saying, okay, this is happening in the stars, in the constellations today. The new moon is in Aries. We can't do this today, or we got to do this today. That's not what they were watching the stars for. The stars have repeating patterns. They're like a book in the sky. It's God's book. Like scripture, the Pentateuch tells us, God wrote his stuff in the sky. So there were things that you could learn, but that wasn't exactly astrology. That was watching nature for the patterns and cycles of when to plant and when the birth of Jesus happened. Of course, the Magi were, from the Middle East doing, something totally different, but Christianity didn't exist at that point. It's just, Judaism, Hebrew. But there are examples in the Bible of people using plants, for medicines and things. But again, all these things can be used for something completely different, which is not to trust in God and God's will. God has a plan for us. When we finally get it through our thick heads, God has a plan for us. And if we ask God, okay, what's the plan? I'm in service to you, take control, our lives suddenly go into this remarkable direction that is so comfortable and beautiful and effortless for us. Of course, at the beginning of something like that, you get attacked. For example, you're becoming a priest. You're under attack all the time. As I became a Christian, I was under brutal attack. I mean, everything in my house exploded, windows exploded, massive amounts of birds hit my window. Animal kills were outside of my house. The water heater broke. The roof was leaking. The stove exploded. The microwave, there was knocking on the walls. There was,
See, you were a member of one team, and it's like when a Democrat says I'm switching to be a Republican, heads
oh man,
explode.
oh man, I was born on that other team. I came out of the womb on the other team because of the family I was born into. So my life should have never have taken the turn it took. I am the devil's mistake because my whole life was planned out and set, and I was on that team from day one. I was groomed to be. So here I am at 60 years old, suddenly, as if overnight, becoming a Christian, becoming Catholic. I had to become Roman Catholic. It wasn't just become a Christian. No one evangelized me. This was an overnight switch thrown bizarre thing that happened to me. Um, I think that I always wondered, why wasn't I possessed? Why was I protected through all these things that I did? And because as a child, I came into that world on that team. And I think that God, who sees all possibilities, protected me because he knew that at 60 years old, I would become a Catholic and write a book and talk on your show and give my testimony. I don't know. But I know that I shouldn't even be alive.
You know what I think of when you say that to me, and your story is very moving, and I want to let everybody know that you probably are going to get probably don't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You finished your book, you got it to the publisher. They're editing it as we speak. I can't wait for it to come out. But this was all in the cards already. He knew that you and I would be having this discussion this day, meet and have this discussion. But when I hear you talk about what you've been through, I work a lot of cases. I have worked a lot of cases. I've buried myself so much in the seminary stuff right now that I've turned the page on that for a while until I get to the priesthood. Then I can jump into um, their hardcore demonology and theological course. But right now I'm just trying to be a priest. So I've kind of turned the page on all that, but I can't tell you how many cases I worked where we really don't know why this particular person got possessed because it was so different than the norm, and they weren't into the occult. They weren't a bad person. They were already baptized Catholic. And so usually when that happens, not always, but usually, we start peeling the layers away and we realize God allowed, in my humble opinion, God allowed this possession to take place because he knew, one, this person would survive it. Two, he knew that there was someone close to that person that needed to see true evil and then needed to see during the exorcism the power of God, which that brought that person back to God. When this person was doing all the stuff that you would normally think that person should have been the one that got possessed, but it was the innocent bystander. You know, collateral damage got it was just what happened while the paranormal drive-by was going on. They got the collateral damage from it. Um, so what do you think when I say that to you?
I think that if you dig deep enough, which under the circumstances when someone is possessed or comes to you, I'm not a priest. I can never be an exorcist. But I studied deeply demonology, angelology, because I wanted the answer for the family members in my family that were possessed. I had to know, and I think if you dig deep enough, you will find that they were either consecrated as small children and didn't know it and don't have a memory of it, of which you'll have to put them into a meditative prayer state, to really dig deep. And part of my education within the occult, and it's mandatory within mystery schools, is psychology. A lot of people are just afraid to bring that subconscious moment up that the people they trusted the most as children betrayed them. and consecrated them under their authority. Or these people don't, they're ashamed to say, yeah, I kind of forgot about that, but when I was high on cocaine for 3 days, we did this weird ritual in the other room and I wasn't really paying attention, but they were making deals with, you know, the devil, or they were doing a sacrifice that didn't involve something that they could see, because people can spiritually sacrifice another person or an animal. If they have authority over that, they can say, well, I spiritually give you the soul of my whatever's under my authority. And that person is going to come under major attack. That person, that innocent person. So I think, when you say, I don't know why this person and not that person, it's not willy-nilly like that. There are absolute spiritual laws written into the universe. We've had many talks on this show about spiritual, natural law, physical laws, like gravity is a law. We know it exists, but there are also spiritual laws written into the universe. The devil knows them all almost as well as God himself, who wrote these laws. We didn't. We're at a great disadvantage. So when we say we don't know why this person or that person, mostly if you're messing in the occult, how can you not get into trouble? At least become obsessed or oppressed or you know, delve into sin, because you are dealing not with angels, not with holy angels. You're not dealing with God or Christ. You're dealing with spirits that are fallen. They're fallen angels or demons. Or if you believe in ghosts, which you know how I feel about that. They're not going to be good people. They're predatory. So there's always a reason, and if you dig deep enough, you'll probably find some tie to the occult, because the occult is so pervasive now. We don't even think of it as a cult. Reading the astrology in the newspaper, do we even think that's a cult? Most people would say, oh, heck no, that's nothing. You do it every day and you start telling people, I read your horoscope today and it says you shouldn't cross the street at noon because something you might get, and then that person doesn't do it. Rather than saying, I trust in God, that's under God's control, not the stars. Nothing is fixed in the stars, by the way, even though the stars are in their patterns and they're very fixed. Um, with divining the future, prophesying today, you're not a patriarch, or predicting things. It's an ever changing, fluid future based on choices of billions of people and billions of entities, outside our perception. God's the only one that knows all those outcomes because he's outside of time and space. We're all inside of time and space, including the spiritual beings. The angels are in the avium. God is outside of that. So he can start, stop. There is no time. He sees everybody at the same time. And we often think of God as someone kind of like ourselves. Well, there's an aspect to God that's like ourselves. He loves, he can feel pain or, hurt. But you cannot contemplate someone who can not only allow free will, which gives all these choices in every individual life, but someone who can actually see the outcome of every free will choice ever made and the potential of it. So God knows everything. When we start looking to people, going to psychics or going to these people, what's going to happen? Am I going to meet my true love? Am I going to survive this illness? That's just a waste of your time, because they don't know. And the spirits that they interact with, if they're interacting with spirits, those spirits cannot know. There's no way. Use logic and reason. How is the universe created? How does time work? It's just not, it doesn't make sense if you really think about it. Philosophically, if you really think about it. So ask God, God, can you answer this question? And you think, well, nobody hears God like talking to them like the spirits. Well, of course not. But what'll happen is you'll get that answer. But you have to pay attention, because it's going to come over the internet synchronistically, or somebody's going to hand you a book, or somebody's going to just walk by and go, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to go, oh my God, that's what I was just asking God.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, but
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
push it aside. No, that's not possible. It's possible because it happens all the time. We live in a supernatural environment, a supernatural creation. I mean, most of the creation is the unseen world, the invisible world, and it's filled with consciousnesses and filled with things. But, we're here and we have to be here exactly as we are, the way we are.
If I put your feet to the fire and said, "What would you?" Well, this is probably you probably get asked this all the time. What would you say would be the probably the most obvious, um, really big no-no that if you do it, you're probably going to uh, get the attention of some things that you don't want in your life. And then part two, in your humble opinion, the number one big to do thing that you should be doing to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, okay. Number one, never join a satanic cult.
Yeah.
Never become a Luciferian, even by accident. No, if you want to look at the little things that people do unwittingly, they have classes and they have all these things online that you can do. Do not merge with spirits. You don't know. It's a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. No one knows what you're even getting. Don't do invocations and evocations. Don't channel. And if you go to a channeler or you're at a Halloween party where there's a channeler, stay away. Go
Are you ready
somewhere
to
else.
get mad at me for something?
I know you have dear friends,
No, no, no.
but if we didn't care, if we genuinely didn't care, we wouldn't, you know, hey, I've done a lot of stupid stuff in my life. I would use the word shit, a lot of stupid stuff. So, I
Well, even
just have
back
to
in the
say,
day, I would go
yeah,
to these. I would go work these cases. This is probably before Sharon and I had our first
you
big.
still do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I would really go to these. I haven't worked like a ghost case, and I can't even remember how long it's been. But I used to go to these ghost cases, and I would find like the area of the home where the homeowner said it's most active there. And I would say I want everybody to leave me alone for a little while. I would go in there, and back then they referred to it as spirit retrieval. And I would go in there and I would try to if I had to put on like the things you put on when you go to sleep and earplugs in, and I would try and drop into like as deep a state, meditative state as I could, and try to communicate psychically with the
Yeah,
spirit to
that's
find
bad.
out, you know. And I
That's so
realize
bad.
now how bad that was years later. But this is
Of course,
this is before Sharon and I even had,
of
you know,
course.
had our first made our first big mistake with a Ouija board at a case, and that almost cost
Uh,
her life.
yeah. Well, when you're open, okay, so you're a married man, and we're all adults here. So when you're in the intimate embrace with your spouse in relationships, you if you were to go into a scientific laboratory, both of you afterwards, you would both be covered with each other's DNA, right?
Right. Or
That's what
more.
ha- that's what happens spiritually when you are merging with these entities. It's your people call it the aura. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. I'm going to send you to the foot of the cross. Um, people talk about the aura and they talk about the energy body. Okay, so just think about it. You're allowing an entity that is not you to come and occupy the same energy space, the spiritual space of your soul. God's not going to let anything happen to your soul, by the way. But that entity can start to take liberties with your body. So also you end up with a lot of attachments. The entity may have attachments. It may have others that are like those little sucker fish on a whale, that are going around with it. I don't know. Not I'm not a supernatural entity. But logic and reason and the words of the saints and the church fathers, Augustine and Aquinas, they really studied this deeply. We must be on to something here.
I think so. Well, your dog's like that.
Yeah, that's my young dog. She's 130 pounds now. She's 4 years old. So you're merging with something that's going to not only change your spiritual DNA or affect it, it may decide that it can come back anytime at once. You've resonated with it. You've become a match for it in order for it to happen in the first place. So these things, like I said, they can. Yeah, I told the 12 stepper I would do tarot. I would not do tarot cards. No, no tarot cards. Tarot and astrology are actually very closely connected. You cannot understand tarot without understanding astrology. You can't understand astrology without understanding tarot. So, just a little aside there. All these things are connected. And again, all over the place, we're told to stay away from it. So we think, well, why are we supposed to stay away from it? There's got to be another reason because an evil entity is not going to come after me. Well, you stay away from it because it's not healthy for you. All the things that God calls a sin are things that are really unhealthy for us, either spiritually, mentally, or physically. All the things that are sinful really aren't healthy for us anyway, right? So logic, God is very logical. He's. So if he says stay away from all these things, and then people like me say stay away from all these things, there's a lot of other things to do. But people are trying to fill that spiritual hole because we're spiritual beings and we're trying to find our way back to God. And the devil is very opportunistic and he's always going to say, but look over here at this shiny thing. You can have power and control and you can be the star and you can go on YouTube and show everybody how to do it. And you can make a lot of money. I mean, some of the sites for shamanism, people are charging $400, $500, $600 per session.
And even people in my field that I'm not
Hmm.
going to call anybody out. You go to their website and they're charging, exorcism by phone for
Right.
$1,000. It's just crazy.
But they're not priests. They're the thing is and you're becoming a priest, a deacon, a priest, a reverend. The difference is through the apostolic line, the power line and the wisdom line, that stream comes directly from Jesus to the apostles, to their disciples, and all the way down to someone like yourself, right? Because you have an apostolic line in the old Catholic Church, right? Yeah, I think I
Absolutely.
read
But
that.
when I
Yeah.
get ordained by Bishop Long, he's got an apostolic succession that you can trace back to Peter.
Yeah. So this might hurt some people's feelings, but those men are very special men. And they are divined by God to do what they do in their ministry of exorcism. They're given some extra grace. They've offered themselves up. They are sacrificial lambs to a great extent, but you know, they they have a little something, this is offensive to some people, but they have a little more than somebody who just says, I'm a shaman, I'm going to help you out here. Magic, if you really get to the level of magic where you're doing ceremonial magic on a high level, you understand that magic is like perfume. It fades with time. All of the occult practices are like that. It is not so with God's magic. God created magic. Lucifer brought it down on Mount Hermon with the 200 fallen to mankind in order to corrupt us with power and control. But originally, God created all these things. Solvent coagula, God created that. It's a natural process within nature. All these things are based on God's laws, principles, rules. It's all God. as priests, you're operating under very magical principles. We hate to call it magic, but God is the magician of the universe. It was the devil who adulterated it, bastardized it, made it evil, used it for evil, and corrupted mankind with it. But you priests, you operate under the same universal principles that magic operates under. Only you're doing it with the power of God, with the power of Christ, the saints, apostles, Mary, holy guardian angels. Um, you're working with the most powerful being, the top of the pyramid, the top of the hierarchy, the creator of everything. You're working with that being. You're not working with some tree spirit or some fallen angel, reject, demon, creepy thing, or Isis or whatever. People that squabble, gods and goddesses that squabbled amongst themselves and, had illicit sex with people they, as an animal or something. Zeus showed up as a swan. Boy, that's romantic, right? So I just think that it's just people are really under, they're under the spell. I mean, I was listening to a young lady speaking today, and she said, try walking into a yoga studio and saying, Jesus Christ. She
Yeah.
said, people would like tense up and get really freaked out over it. She said, I feel it. If I talk about Jesus and I'm in a place, people
Yeah.
have this. Why is that?
Yeah. There's no
She's,
gray area for me. If I go out wearing the collar, I get the people that want to come to me, and I get the people that want to
yeah,
run from me. There's no
right.
gray area.
And when we swear, why is it we use Jesus's name? Why not,
I
oh,
try not
Buddha,
to. I still every once in a
oh,
while.
Aten, oh, Apollo?
I
No,
start using food. Ah, grilled cheese.
good broccoli. But But it is the devil at work, encouraging that and implanting that in people. Oh, hi, Jennifer.
I'll be meeting Jennifer in person at the end of the month. I
Oh,
think
I
she's going
love
to
her.
be in Kentucky for my ordination, so I'm gonna get to see her,
Oh, that will be
meet her, and
fun.
that will
Yeah,
be fun.
give her a hug from me too.
Her and Michelle.
And
Michelle will be
Michelle, yeah.
there.
And
She'll
Linda,
be
I
there.
think there's some.
It's gonna be fun.
Where are you gonna be?
I'm gonna post it. I'll send you an email, but it's gonna be. I fly into on the November 2nd. I fly
Ah,
into Louisville, Kentucky, where Bishop Long will be waiting for me at the airport. He's going to drive me to, I believe it's English, Indiana, which is about an hour away. And there, our hotel apparently is right next to this church, where the following day, on the
oh,
3rd, he's going to ordain me a deacon, and we're going to have mass. And then the following day after that, the 4th, one of our priests is getting married at the same church. So we're going to go to the wedding, and then he drives me back into Louisville on Sunday the 5th, and I fly back home. But there's several seminarians getting ordained to the diaconate, and one of our deacons is getting ordained to the priesthood, and one of the other seminarians is taking his final vows into the order of Saint Benedict, and it's going to be very, very cool.
that's amazing. Can you believe that you've gotten this far and this is the path you're on? Did you ever
Well,
imagine that
it's
you
only
would be a
because
priest?
Well, it's because of it's definitely Bishop Long. If it, he's a great teacher and a great mentor, and like I said, I've put everything aside, dived into the studies, and if I continue on this current trajectory, if you will, I may even be ordained to the priesthood I'm thinking fall of next year, if
You've
all
got
goes
2
well.
minutes. You've got 2 minutes.
I'm going to say goodbye to you. I love you. Give
Okay,
your
God bless you, Jennifer. Thank you.
I
God
love you
bless
very.
you,
I
everybody.
love you. I know. I love it when we get together once a month. Have a great, great weekend. Give your dogs a big hug and a kiss for me, especially the old one, and
You
tell
better
them
go. You
from
better
one
go.
of. I love you. I'll see you later. Oh, I got a minute. Let me see. Monday, be here. October 9th, Dr. Joy, the Joy to the World series, once a month, with Dr. Joy Pugh will be this Monday, the 9th. Um, Thank you to Zach and Adrian Clayton, my co-producers, for co-producing my show. Go to Zach's Um, GoFundMe if you can help him out with his surgery, which is a week from this Monday. USOCC.org, BishopJamesLong.com. Go there. Be pleasantly surprised. If you like Bible study or night prayer, the links are there for that. Go there. All the networks that simulcast my show. We're still working out the bugs, but pretty soon I will be also live on Scientific Paranormal Inspection Research Investigation Team, Spirit. But that's not now. I think today I'm just going to share the replay of the show.
Actually, we do have a new channel on. It's the one that you were going to join.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Well, God bless you, brother. Very, very cool. Okay. Go to Zach's uh, website or email or whatever it is. I believe it's a website, communitypayedforward.us. Just a cool place. Again, just go and be pleasantly surprised. Um, you can find me at Lawrence Morais now. I still got people trying to find where I'm at. Lawrence Morais is my new Facebook profile. It's a stage name, but my other profile got deactivated. Still don't know why that happened. Uh, Eli Roth presents the Legion of Exorcists, streaming now on Discovery Plus and Max. You can buy the whole season for like $10 at Amazon Prime Video. No word yet on a season 2. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to Skeleton Key Network. Thank you to PACT, little p, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel. For all these networks simulcasting my show, God bless you for that. And it's bad joke time. I'm gonna pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat, and it's my poor attempt to put a smile on everybody's face before I say, have a great weekend. This better be funny. How many ears do space aliens have? 3. The left ear, right ear, and the final front ear. Actually, that's pretty good. Somebody must have knew I'm a Trekkie fan. That's pretty good. All right, guys. I love you all. God bless you all. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. Peace.